Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the We Know Traitors podcast over here on RHAP. I'm your host, the Duke of Deception, here to talk about the last 3 episodes of Traitors UK Season 4, aka the finale. And with the Duke of Deception, as always, the main person I get to talk about the show with, my co-host, the one and only, the Pharaoh Flap Flap in person. It's Annabelle.
She flapped all the way here, and it's freezing.
From AU to US to talk UK, international here. Exciting.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
I've already watched all the episodes twice.
Classic Annabelle behavior.
And I just have so many feelings about it. It was really good. I can't believe it's over. And I'm thrilled we get to talk about the finale in person, Pooya.
Yeah, it was very fun. My heart was racing. Honestly, first of all, shout out to the producers. They did a great job of editing this show because I couldn't tell if they were going to get it done. And am I so happy they did? Beyond elated.
I feel like this is exactly what we asked for last week. We said we would love for them both to win together, but it can't feel like a foregone conclusion. I need it to feel like they had to really fight for it. I needed to feel like, oh my God, this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to happen. And it was a really beautiful finale.
It was. It really was. I think that ultimately, when all is said and done, the two of them had to win together. I've seen a lot of takes about how, well, Rachel only wins because Steven was stupid enough to give her the money. And I feel like a lot of people are forgetting the fact that for the first half of the game, Steven was in the trenches and Rachel was the one helping Steven get out of his bad spots. And then the role shifted because of hurricanes, Fiona and Harriet, that Rachel needed help from Steven, and then they were the quintessential traitors working as a team the entire way. So it is the more fairy tale ending that we got it to be this way. And I do like that we now have one in the history books, which is here, the traitors can work together. They don't have to always stab each other in the back to get there, even though, quite frankly, for Steven, if at any point he wanted to, he could have ended up taking all the money home.
Completely.
Yeah.
I really liked them winning together. I think we've spoken about this before. I usually find it falls a bit flat when it's just a traitor win because it's so lonely. I mean, when you see the faithful win together, there's hugging, there's happiness, they're thrilled. And when, if you think back to an earlier UK season and it's just that one traitor and everyone's crying and feels betrayed and it's so lonely and it's just Claudia being like, good work, buddy.
Yeah.
This was perfect. I do want to, let's litigate the Rachel and Steven of it all, because I'm actually seeing the opposite on Twitter.
Interesting.
I'm seeing Rachel is the greatest traitor to ever do it.
I've seen that take as well.
Steven, idiot. He's only there because of Rachel. Then there's some people being like, oh my God, all of these misogynists saying Rachel doesn't deserve to be there. I'm like, what? People are discounting Rachel? So I think you and I are on the same page. I think you and I agree they needed each other.
Yes. I don't think Steven makes it to part 2 without Rachel in part 1. I don't think Rachel makes it to part 2 without Steven in part 2. So they absolutely needed each other to get through the path.
Yes. And I completely and utterly agree. But I think let's maybe talk it out. So I wanted to thank you to my group chat, Jeff, Josh, Fully Grown Potato. I had to talk it out here.
Is that a person in the chat, or that's a group name, Fully Grown Potato?
That's a person in the group chat.
That is incredible. I jokingly asked that. Didn't expect it to be the answer. All right, cool. All right.
Because I really needed to hear the why is it all Rachel of it all. Neither of us agree with this, but let's say, why was we'll start with Steven. Why was Steven the best? Why did he carry Rachel through the game?
Oh, we're going to do exercise for both.
Yeah.
I think that for Steven was the best as an ally for a couple of reasons to Rachel. Number one, I think Rachel absolutely needed someone to not make her lose her mind when Fiona's attacking her to her face publicly like that, and she can't do anything but try and defend on these very serious and very accurate allegations against her. I think Steven being there grounded her. I think then when Harriet is straight up calling Rachel's name out when she's doing the question to the traitors, I think Steven is there calming her down. I think that we've seen a masterclass played from Rachel. You don't get that if you don't have a friend or an ally that can make you feel resetted, that can make you feel grounded to go through that. So I think as an ally to the traitors, 10 out of 10 experience. Then you have him as a player outside of that, like towards the faithful. And while I think that the show did a great job of pointing out the moments where he was a suspect, I think that being in a position where they put themselves in very weird spots. Like Steven literally put himself in a position where the setup of Ross falls back on him as one of the suspects. Him being one of the people in the cages puts suspicion on him as well. It's a testament to how well he was able to do to fight that allegation and get to the end game where there's legitimately people who are now like, Steven's safe. I'm not looking at him anymore. Like, we talked about how tough it is to be a suspect and stay there the whole way, because usually once you're a suspect, it's like, well, they're not going to let you win. You're going to get to 5 or 4. They're like, all right, this whole time with Steven, we have to just do it just in case. Mercy kill him. But I think that Rachel's suspicion also rising at the right time made it so that Steven was now like, plan C. And I think that helped him also, but I think it's a testament to him being able to fight the allegations. I think that a lot of people will say this group of faithfuls were stupid. And that's why, they're more so, let's blame the faithful, not praise the traitor. But I think you can absolutely do both things. And I think Steven still did a really good job of getting there. I think we saw it a lot on his face. He looked nervous so often, but I think people need to understand that if you are nervous like that and you're still able to get through it on the other side, it's more power to that player. So I guess I'm rambling a little bit, but those are the 2 big points for me, is his allyship as a traitor and his ability to fight the allegations and minimize his suspicion level as a faithful after he's been accused.
I want to talk about that second point a little bit more, because
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think I would argue nobody in the game had more trust or ride or dies than Steven. I think we praised Rachel a lot in earlier podcasts that we've done about her social capital and how she's been able to persuade people.
Yeah.
He never used his to persuade people, but people rode so hard for Steven in a way they never did for Rachel. Like Fiona was willing to go out of the game protecting Steven from Rachel.
She did all that because she felt like Rachel wasn't protecting Steven enough. Like,
completely.
yeah.
He makes several major strategic flubs, but Jesse, who people recognized as having great reads, could not get Steven out because Roxy wouldn't hear a word of it. Jack wouldn't hear a word of it. Jade wouldn't hear a word of it. People felt, we heard from Faraz. I think we heard from somebody else as well in these final 3 episodes. I don't want to bring up Steven's name because it's not going to go anywhere. People aren't going to act on it.
They're more focused on the other name. He was always the second name in these last batch of episodes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Steven and Rachel do not win at the end here if it isn't for the strength of Steven's relationships and the fact that even though Steven tells Jack, I'm going to be voting for Rachel or Faraz, he votes for, that's a tight 3. Jade, Jack, Steven. Steven blindsides Jack and votes for Jade. And Jack still doesn't question him when they go to the final fire of truth. That is how hard people ride for him. Rachel never turns on Steven. There's never any question of her turning on Steven. I think the power of the trust in Steven clutches the win for them.
I absolutely agree with that. I think the other big thing for me was Rachel's the one who introduces this idea in the turret of, hey, I might have to say your name, so just keep that in mind. I'm not against you. And what we saw from there on was Steven say her name way more than Rachel did. But I think that kind of worked in their favor because at this point, people are looking for, if they're looking for 2 traitors, they're looking for 2 people who are not accusing each other. Because it's very risky to accuse each other this late in the game. But I think that genius also allowed them to make it through the fire of truth, because once we got to the final 6, I was like, Liana, this is the path. they're gonna have a 2-1-1, and that's the only way they can get out of this. And sure enough, they both marinated a person apiece to go for the other person, and then they both voted out one, and it was phenomenal to see. I truly do not think, I think these two were in lockstep, and I think to finish talking about Steven here, I think that Steven did a great job of still keeping allies when other people were talking bad about him to these allies. And I also think that not enough credit is going to be given to the fact that they murdered Jessie, which we thought, dumb move. Why? Like, y'all waited too long on Jessie, and now you're killing her at her peak talking about you, and was able to get through it and not have any blowback on that. Perfect. Perfect. It was perfect. It worked out really well for them. Again, when you get making missteps, I think is human nature, especially on the Traitors, because there's so many doors and avenues you can go that are the wrong one. But it's being able to bounce back from them that really is the skill. And to go from being in those early bad spots to then make it all the way to the end, I don't care who your opposition is. It is a talent in and of itself to avoid all the landmines that are along the way.
Completely. And I think it's particularly hard to win together. I mean, yes, you're a voting block, but you could be a voting block with anyone. I think what makes it hard is that they had completely different people who trusted them.
Yeah.
So Rachel ended up with Faraz, but Faraz does not trust Steven. We've got Steven, who's got Jade and Jack. They want to get rid of Rachel. So how do you engineer this so that you can still both make it through? And Steven, we heard him say in the episode, I also watched the Uncloaked. He really thought all the way till the end, I might be flipping on Rachel. Watching it, Pooya, I was like, this is why I could never be a traitor, and I would be absolutely garbage, because he's in this situation where regardless of what happens, he's going to break Jack's heart.
Yes. Jack's gone.
Like, Jack, I've betrayed someone I genuinely love who's been my best friend in the game, which I couldn't do. And now he's like, okay, but for an extra 45,000 quid, shall I also tank my relationship and ruin it for Rachel as well? And in the end, he's like, no, I'd like to walk away with this feeling good about at least one person. And I don't blame him at all.
No, I think that also, if we're going to talk beyond the game, I think that the two of them winning together is far more iconic. There's far more longevity there. I think there's a lot of opportunities that can present themselves after the show that'll make you that 40 grand real quick. So I think it was the right call, and I agree with you. Being in that spot would be tough, because I feel like, yes, celebrate, like, winning is great, period, but it's almost better to win with somebody. It's like, I would like to, if I'm winning, like, if I am a millionaire, I would like to be able to share that with somebody, share with friends. I want to share the wealth, and you can't do that when you're sitting there alone. Granted, also, if this was £500,000, I understand, Cutter, I get it. 40,000, we're good. Like, it's still a lot of money, mind you. Let me not act
That's like $100,000.
Yeah, I will do this for $20,000. But I also understand if there's someone, like, I'm a sentimental person.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting there and I'm like, I literally couldn't have done it without her. Like, she's the reason I'm here. Part of me would feel a little hesitant to cut her. I would be like, I can't do it. I wouldn't be here without her. She wouldn't be here without me, but we were a team. I would struggle.
And I don't think it's bad. I don't want to sit here and say, oh, I think it's wrong to do that.
Oh, no, we're not talking about it from a morality way.
I just don't. I know I don't have that dog in me. And it's my weakness, I think, in these games. I just, I knew in my heart playing that if we got to the end, I wouldn't be able, for instance, to cut Luke. But if he turned around and told me he was a traitor, I would just be happy for him. Like, I think I would be Tranner in that point.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It would take, like, if Rachel had uttered, if I'm playing the role of Steven, if Rachel had genuinely pushed my name at any point, even if it was early on and then we patched things up, I would still not share the money with her at the end. But it's just the fact that they were able to, like, they are not getting to they are not winning if not for the way they were able to dissect and separate these faithfuls at the end. The trio of him, Jade, and Jack versus Faraz and Rachel, I do think that, I guess the question becomes this. Let's actually go this way. So let's say the final fire of truth, they do cut Rachel at 5. And it's Steven, it's Jade, it's Jack, and it's Faraz. Do they cut Faraz next? Do Jade and Jack cut Steven? Like, does Steven win still, do you think?
I think he does.
With that final 4? Interesting.
I think he does.
Yeah, if he votes Rachel there, then they have no reason to doubt him.
And let's talk. I want to unpack that because I want to unpack where the faithful went wrong.
Oh, sure.
But I think first we've done the why it's all Steven. Let's do why was it all Rachel? Let's play that game.
I think Rachel definitely, Rob has had this new thing he's been floating, which is there's a leader traitor, there's a wildcard traitor, and I feel like Rachel ends up fitting the leader side a little bit more. Even though I feel like it was a relatively evenly distributed responsibility in that turret, I do think that with Rachel, she was very much the strategy in the turret for me. I think that she did a phenomenal job of garnering relationships and then being able to use those relationships long after the people left. The way this woman bled every ounce of capital she could out of the relationship with Amanda, and Amanda's been gone for half the season now, all the way to the end, to use her as a scapegoat for any reach she has and get away with it was robbery. I quite frankly, maybe that's when I talk about the faithful being wrong, because a lot of the things Rachel was saying, I was like, this is a red flag to me now. But she did it in such a way that they didn't think twice about it. I think that we talked about how tough it can be for Steven to come out of a bad situation of being sussed. Rachel fought a traitor on traitor allegation that they didn't clock onto until way too later, and a Harriet self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
She fought, and they were back to back. She fought both of those and still made it to the final fire of truth. And I think was still able to, in a very tense final 6 vote, convince people at the table that she is good. And I think that is a very difficult thing to do, especially with your back against the wall that late into the game. There's not a lot of other people you can blame at that point. But I thought it was a masterclass to also be like, don't you dare take away from me the one thing I did right, which was get a traitor out, which I guess later kind of became a problem. But in the moment, it was a good plea. And they're like, oh my God, she really cares. It was kind of like the equivalent of Ram Funches being like, let me say a good thing about each of you on the way out. And like, okay, he's good. He's good. A traitor would not do all this. So I think that was phenomenal. I think that it is an art almost to be able to get someone who should be very cleared as a faithful banished. I think that's an art form, and we get to see that happen. We see a couple of moves in this last bit that didn't make sense for the faithful to see as a problem, see as a red flag. The dagger should not have been as transparent. They were so stupid to see that as a traitor thing. They did. To go for James next, they shouldn't have. They did. To then finally go to and I think my biggest credit for her, I want to say strategically, is changing Faraz's mind.
Yes.
Because how she was able to take the number one person that was looking at her, keep him in the game when I thought she should murder him regardless and deal with it, keep him in the game, change his mind, use him to survive the final 5, and then cut his ass immediately after, that was money. That was incredible. And I just think she, again, also similar to Steven, did a great job of being an ally to the traitors, whilst also being great at making connections with the faithful. And again, I think the divide and conquer worked because the allies that Steven had, Rachel had other allies, and that helped them at the end big time. So
completely. And even Steven acknowledged in Uncloaked, in this sort of reunion Uncloaked, that he was a strategic flop. He realized as soon as he got caught over the whole people in the library of it all, that he was making poor strategic decisions, and he was going to need to rely on his social game completely. Rachel was the strategic driver there.
Yeah.
She was a gamer. She was competitive. She came into the game with this frankly bizarre FBI plan, and was always thinking up these little schemes. So there is no way Stephen gets through his, quite frankly, the cage flop. He had the library flop.
There was a lot of flops.
Rachel carries him through these.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel is aggressive. Rachel is on the front foot. She drives a lot of the faithful banishments and gets away with it because she's such an amazing liar. For every time we see an over-the-top Stephen facial reaction, we see Rachel tell a straight-faced lie and convince people. As you say, the way she comes out, Faraz is like, no, I've got it. It's Rachel, it's Stephen, it's Jade. And he votes for Rachel, and she just says, no, I wanted to get up there and rub it in your face. And he buys that hook, line, and sinker. So I can see that, and I see why people see her as a really strong traitor. I think she is. Can we talk about the 2-on-1? Because my theory, Pooya, is that people love this because they're Survivor fans and they're bringing their conception of the 2-on-1 from Survivor into the Traitors.
I think the Survivor fans are, we're suckers for the plurality, the 3-2-1s, the out of nowhere getting the person out. Yes, I think definitely the part of it, but you sound negative on this. I'm curious how this is a negative thing to you.
No, I think it was great, but my but is...
What's your but?
I rewatched it this morning.
Uh-huh.
And how deliberate was this? So we see that they are, okay, we're at the 4 here, or we're going into the final fire, which is, sometimes they don't even have a chance to discuss at this point, I'd like to point out. So we see that Stephen and Jack are talking, and Jack is saying to Stephen, Faraz is pushing me really hard to vote for you, but I don't think I can do it. Can you really promise me you're not going to look me in the eye and say I'm a traitor? Stephen's like, I will never do that to you. In fairness, he never does do that to him. We see Faraz and Rachel talking, and he's like, I'm sure. Faraz says, I'm sure of it. That was traitor on traitor. The other traitor is Stephen. And Rachel's like, yep, let's vote for Stephen.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, Faraz is the one pushing to vote for Stephen. Rachel's like, yeah, let's do it. It's definitely going to be 2 votes on Stephen. Faraz is unable to convince Jack to do the same. So it's not going to be 3-on-1. How much... But that's both good on Stephen and good on Rachel in that they both have a faithful at this point who trusts them. But was this Rachel... What I'm seeing is people crediting Rachel with intentionally setting up a 2-on-1 by getting Faraz to switch his vote.
Switch his vote from who to who? Switch his
exactly.
vote from... Cause,
her?
Yeah. Like, no. So I think that there was a level of deliberate that kind of coincidentally worked out, right? Where they do each have one piece on the board. Neither piece is looking at their ally traitor. They're looking at the other traitor. So the divide and conquer there for me was easy because in the middle, I think what really does the faithful in is the fact that in Faraz's mind, he's played out his scenario, which Liana brought this up. Faraz does what Liana has always said she would want to do as a faithful is at like final 5 or 6, find your one faithful person, lock them in, and then plan this thing ahead. The problem is Faraz plans all of this with Jack of like, I want to sit there with you. That's what we're going to do. So in Faraz's mind, he's like, I'll have my cake and eat it too. I'll keep Rachel because she's not going to vote me. We take out Stephen. Then at 3, I backstab her with Jack. We take out Rachel. I win the money with someone I know for sure is a faithful. That's why he's never going to put Rachel's name down. Because for him, he needs Rachel at 3. For Jack, he's like, I can't do this to Stephen. But also, he's already thinking Rachel anyway. So he's going that way. I think the problem is him, and what is lost there is Jack relies heavily on Stephen to be his vote. Faraz relies heavily on Rachel being his vote. They both needed to vote together regardless, to at least deadlock it in the event it happens. Now, I think credit where I will give to Stephen and Rachel is that they've said each other's names enough that these two do not see these two voting together. And they're on opposite sides. The flag should have gone up when they both voted Jade. Yes. It did not happen. I think the masterclass in that, though, is that Jade, poor sweet Jade, has been a suspect from like night one. So anyone voting Jade at final 5 or 6, it's like, well, we were never going to let her get to the end anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it happened here instead of 4. That's fine. We'll stick part of the course. I'm still going Rachel. It's fine. I think that's what happens here. So I wouldn't give sole credit to Rachel. I think the duo of traitors did a good job of dividing the two. And then I think the faithful had other plans that kind of opened the path for the traitors to take it all.
This is where the faithful really flocked for me. Because Faraz actually didn't say he needed Rachel at the 3. When he originally comes to Jack, he says, all right, you've got to make a sacrifice. We're getting rid of Jade first because we need Rachel as a number to get rid of Jade right now. Because in his mind, Stephen's really tight with Jade. He's never going to vote Jade.
Yes.
He says, in return, we will get Rachel out
first.
next.
I missed that.
And then we will get rid of Stephen. But then as soon as they get rid of Jade, he backflips on this. No. We're going to get rid of Stephen first.
Because traitor on traitor. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense now.
And I kept watching this finale thinking, the edit is hiding all of the strategic conversations the faithful were having. And it wasn't until the episode was over, I realized, oh no, they weren't having
There were no strategic conversations.
That never happened. Like, when you compare this, without naming the seasons, to pretty much every season, bar the US, that we have seen recently, it gets down to these final 2 episodes, and everybody is gaming it out. They realize it basically becomes mini Survivor once we get to the last 2 episodes. It's pair up, find the person who you want to be at the end with. How are we going to make the numbers work? You know, this is what we thought was going to happen last week when we thought Roxy was going to be that clincher vote. They never have those conversations. The only people having those conversations are Rachel and Stephen. Faraz does a very half-hearted job with Jack, but never doesn't stick to it himself, which he acknowledges on the Uncloaked, and doesn't even get Jack to really agree to it.
I think that I agree with you there. I feel like there's a level of, and we talked about the faithful flubbing it. I think there was a level of the traitors being the hard workers, or the just overtime, always thinking, always planning, where the faithful just kind of were lax because they're like, okay, well, we know it's Rachel, or we know it's Stephen. No, you do not. You do not know any of that. Just work like it's the end game. To me, I'm like, you're this close to the end. You've survived all the bizarro murder angles. It's all banishments, baby. Lock that in. You've had plenty of practice banishing people. Get this done now. And I think that what helps Rachel and Stephen also is that we do see continuous check-ins of, don't turn on me. We're together. We're going to do this. We're both, and they're both going this way. And that's it. Lock it in. One conversation is all it takes, potentially.
Right. Okay. Even if they've not correctly identified, if I'm Jack, I'm like, Stephen, I trust you. If at any point Jack had sat down with Stephen and said, what is our recipe for you and I to be sitting at the final 2? Then Stephen couldn't have given away that they have Rachel locked in as a vote, which means that it would have involved bringing Jade to the final 3, which means that when Stephen voted out Jade at final 5, that would have raised a red flag. Jack would have said, oh my God, Stephen, there's something up with this. But because he never had that conversation, he never thought to do that. Instead, it's just oh, well.
Yeah. And I think that, again, it goes back to the fact that Jade has been someone whose name has been out so long that it's I can't blame him. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
I can't blame him. That's fair. She's been on everyone's mind, so maybe something she said wrong here, whatever. But to me, I think absolutely, once you get to that point where you're you are my final 2 person, let's talk about exactly who we are voting out when, because every vote matters here. We literally see a 2-1-1, split the faithful up and take him out. And I think that Stephen could have never said, well, Jade first, then Rachel, then Faraz, because Jade would have been part of that plan. So to your point, you're absolutely correct. The minute Jade leaves, Jack should realize, oh, that's all null and void now. We are not together. You know what? The other deal with Faraz looking kind of tasty right now. Let me just lock it in with him and go that direction. But again, if you're calling out that Faraz does switch up on his own vote, then it was never going to work out. I genuinely thought we could see, for a while there, I was like, well, what does a 2-2 look like at the final Fire of Truth? And are we really going to leave this up to chance this tonight? But then I saw the 2-1-1 pathway open right up when they kept accusing each other. I was like, well, that kind of works. That could make sense. I'm very surprised, though, that for how much they talked about tonal shifts this last batch, that Faraz did not clock that he left a little door open with Rachel and she kicked it open and marinated him the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not realize that she is completely, like, suddenly all in with you?
I wonder how much of that is, we have got to the end, there's a tight 3, and then there's just the 2 of us left over. So I guess, do I cling to you for dear life because I'm not getting enough from Jack? I also, last week I predicted we really need to murder Jack or Faraz, because I genuinely thought when Jack said to Stephen and Jade, it's got to be one of you. Why is our entire alliance still intact at this late in the game? I've had absolutely zero heat. That he would look at Stephen when Jade was revealed as faithful. I confess, Pooya, I confess, I put too much faith in Jack.
Bless him. Jack, this last couple of episodes, kind of really just talked about how he's a personal trainer and he hypes up people. That's what he does. So he's hyping up the faithful. He won a shield. That honestly was a clutch shield because it does keep him safe in that little round over there. But beyond that, yeah, I think Jack was just a very silent player and very not thinking about the game as hardly as some of these other people were, for sure. I would like to talk about the last week, because last week you and I made some predictions. None of them came true.
No.
We were like, surely they give the dagger to Matthew because he's going to think it's a gift from the Traitors, so he's going to focus on other stuff. They gave it to his biggest op in James. And James squarely used it against Matthew, even though he used it against Matthew because he's like, you're a traitor. Why is the Traitor giving you a loaded gun, man? Like, you've been voting him. Why would he give you the gun? That makes no sense. But somehow he took this. He ran with it. And it worked to the Traitors' recipe to perfection. They got Matthew out.
Crazy. I love how when Stephen does a double bluff, oh no, it's too obvious, Stephen would never do that. When they clearly set up a Jade, a James, a Matt, oh no, they're setting a trap for us. Like, Stephen and Rachel just drip feed that idea, and they're like, oh, but this could be genius.
Rachel spammed that move so much this season that by the third time I was like, come on, like, no one's noticing this. It can't. Every time there's been a moment like that where they're like, but is that too easy? She'll be like, but is that not just the most genius thing if it's real, though? And every time she got her way, I was like, at what point do you look at the person who keeps saying that and be like, it's kind of weird that you keep getting this wrong about the genius thing, but they still run with it every time, Annabelle. Every time that this theory has come up, they're like, but this reverse, though, that will be 4D chess. They're like, we're voting them. You're absolutely right.
By the time we get to this stage in the game, Rachel is the oldest person there.
Yeah.
She's the most articulate and confident in her opinions.
Can we real quick, I hate to pause this conversation, but when Faraz reads out who the traitors are and calls her grandma, listen, I know you're my brown guy, but fuck you. This woman's 42. Relax. Okay?
He called her grandma in the mission as well.
Like, what are you doing?
I'm sure it was a joke.
It was, and I'm sure they had an in-joke, but I'm going to choose to take offense to that as someone who's only about to be 8 years away from Rachel's age. You're being ridiculous. Relax. Stop it. Anyway.
I think that they just respected her opinion as more intelligent than their own.
Yes,
and
100%.
Faraz in particular, much younger than the others. Well, I suppose Jade's around his age, constantly just questioning his own opinions, I suppose, compared to someone who was 20 years older than him. So it was absolutely masterful to watch. James, I loved James. I think he was the standout male faithful for me this season. Just as a
without a
character.
doubt. Him and Ross for me, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic character. We should have known when they said in the turret, we want to give the dagger to the person whose the power would immediately go to their head. We should have known. We should have known it was James.
There were two people that could apply to. One is Matthew, the other is James. Because I think James is just more of an outwardly, and James does a little bit more of what I see like Colton does on the US, which is, you're a traitor. So I don't even care, honestly. Like, it's fine. Like, it's cool. Like, he'll just just say matter of fact, you are a traitor. I don't even care. This conversation's done. And that's fun. But when he gets it wrong, that's when he loses me every time. Because then he's like, I'm an idiot. You know, whatever. I don't play well. And people are like, well, that was a bad move. Horrible move. I was like, okay, stop ad-libbing your own diss. Like, let them talk on you without you getting involved. But James's personality from the beginning has been a standout. Him and Jesse, to me, have been like the shining spot of the faithful, like an energy that was always positive for the most part. And it felt bad to see him be so down on himself after the fact. It was just still so funny to me.
Oh, him sobbing after orchestrating this absolutely shocking Matt vote that no one should have fallen for.
And they still voted him out.
Puking during the mission as he's like...
Yo, the way he made it so easy for the traitors by running back with two bags of gold to get more gold. I was like, you're setting yourself up. And then now he's struggling to get there to cross the finish line. Oh my God.
I feel like we called it fairly early in the piece that James was a great faithful to bring to the end. Like, messy, no clue. I loved
vocal.
Loved every second of him. So Matt ends up being our banishment here. I thought he did quite a good job in difficult circumstances. He's saying, I don't care if you think I'm a traitor or not. Just have some respect for the fact I'm not so stupid as to give my most vocal opponent 2 votes.
Yeah. I think that was a great sound argument, especially when you've had a lot of heat on you, to be able to be like, hey, just logically for a second, let's step out away from the game. Why would I ever do this? I think he did convince some people right then and there. I think the sad reality was he was always going to go into that night with 4 votes on him because the 2 traitors and James were always going in that direction. So all it took was one person not voting with him, and it's done. It's not going to work out.
I still think he did a good job of spooking Stephen. Stephen quite easily spooked. When he said, look at who votes for me tonight.
There's a traitor
there. There's a traitor there. That was almost... He's told us to the camera, he says, I believe Stephen is a traitor. I'm not going to say that because then Stephen will vote for me. What I'm going to do instead is to pick at Jade because I think she's the next easiest person to get rid of. And I'm going to say in front of Stephen, traitors will be voting for me.
Yeah.
And it's almost enough to get Stephen off his back.
Yeah.
He does a good job at convincing Jade that we're just 2 faithfuls going at it. What he needed, though, so that I'm saying he's taking those people out the piece. Let's assume Stephen doesn't vote for him, even though he does. He didn't really make a big pull to bring Rachel on side.
Yeah.
And it was only going to take, I suppose it could have been a tie, but...
Yeah, it was a tough spot to be in. Like, they really pitted him well there. I do not hate the strategy of calling out, if there's votes on me, look at them. There's probably a traitor there. Because it could spook a traitor outside of doing it. I think at that point the numbers were so small that I think Steven kind of knew I have to vote this way regardless. But I did like the call out of like, that was a little weird to bring up. Like, you're like, what, like, you know, it's like a threat almost. I think bringing it to the table as a threat is the best way to defend against a move like that. Because I do think that in this game, the one thing people don't like is when you threaten them.
Yeah.
and they don't like when you tell them how they should be and how they should operate or what they should think, and they will call that out right to your face. So I did think that was a good bit of defense, but I did love from Matthew bringing that up as a way to potentially spook a vote away from him. But I did also find it funny because unfortunately for him, he does recognize that he cannot afford to lose Steven as a vote, but he never had Steven as a vote to begin with. So he might as well have done whatever he needed to do. It was just not going to change anything. Yeah, I think that giving it to James also makes it very tough for Matthew because, like I said, James was very much well, of course you are. Of course you're a traitor. Like that's going to be factual. Like he cuts you enough to like interrupts you to say stuff like that you can never feel like you can have a conversation with him. Like if I had Rachel being suspicious of me or Jade or anybody else but James, I think I could maybe talk my way out of it or like try and reason with them. I would feel so disarmed, not disarmed. I would feel like my guard has to be up with James because he's a little bit more of an interrupty guy, that I'd be like, I can't get a word in edgewise. So what's the fucking point? Like he's not going to listen to me, and that would infuriate me. I would not be able to talk to him. And he's the guy with 2 votes. So realistically, yes, the traitor should hop on the one with the 2 votes if they're not a traitor already, and there should be 4 votes on me tonight. Yeah. Keep an eye on that. That's a great. Oh, that would have been that's the best move. That would have been good if he did that publicly at the round table.
Yeah. It was hard, and I, on reflection, love giving James the dagger. We were concerned that the person who received the dagger would ask too many questions about why they got it. Mm-hmm. James was the perfect person because his confirmation bias against Matt was so brilliant.
Yeah.
That he never questioned it at all.
I think he saw it as a brilliant setup. Who would set me up? You would, you rat. I'm going to vote you out now. Yeah. That's really what it came across like to me.
The murder. Let's talk about the controversial Roxy murder. So we have the setup in the mission here, right? We're now down to the final, 6? 5 plus Roxy. We've got Jack.
Final.
Yeah, this is before we murder.
This was final 8, though. They had the mission, and then Matt leaves and Roxy gets murdered at 7.
All right, final 7. So we've got 2 traitors. Then Jack gets the shield.
He's safe.
And we've then got James.
We got James,
who we're setting up as our next person to be banished. Jade, who's
still a suspect.
Also still a suspect. And then we've got Roxy, we've got
Matthew
Faraz,
who leaves, and then Faraz is the other person.
So it's now, who are we going to murder? Roxy or Faraz? And they choose to murder Roxy.
I think it comes down to one thing, and that's the fact that Faraz recently has started piping up about Rachel.
Yes.
And I think that unlike Steven, who was like, let's just kill Jesse and move on, Rachel, I think, had reservations about doing so because it was so recent. So Roxy is the one to go. And then when we see Roxy's parting words be like, all right, the traitors killed me because I was onto them. Anyway, I hope Steven and Rachel win this game. I was like, you got rid of the worst person. She was never going to look at you. Like, you were in a safe spot. That's when I got nervous. I was like, this game could be lost here. But I don't even think it was on purpose, but shout out Faraz. Like, he really saved himself by bringing up Rachel's name.
Yes. I think when I first saw it, I just thought this is a terrible move because Faraz, he's like, Rachel, I think it's you. It's Rachel. Tells her to her face, tells everybody it's Rachel, it's Rachel, it's Rachel. Yeah. Roxy is never, no matter what evidence comes forward, going to believe it's Steven or Rachel. So she's a surefire vote for them. Obviously, the right move for Steven playing selfishly is to get rid of Faraz. My thought there then was, is it better for Rachel to cut Faraz here? Because I think in cutting Roxy, she handed all the power to Steven. She now has...
For the rest of the game.
Yeah. Nobody in her corner at all. Everyone's in Steven's corner. It's a miracle she manages to get Faraz back on side here. If she had not got Faraz back on side here, she's out.
Yep.
And she's completely dependent at all times on Steven wanting to go to the end with her. That said, I thought all the way through watching this last night, terrible move, terrible move. Rewatched it this morning, and that breakfast, everyone is like, if Faraz is gone,
It's her.
it's her. And could she have got the heat off herself could James have been taken off Jade? Could Roxy have been taken off James? Like, could she have spun it back on James or Jade? I don't know.
It all comes out because at that point, we're at the final 6 regardless. So as long as Roxy's not looking at her, they have a 3-person voting block. So they're not in a dead spot. They end up in the same spot they end up in with a game of chance. I think the problem is we have seen this season specifically, we have seen the traps work. We've seen every frame job work. So if they kill, outside of the Jesse, where they killed Jesse and they did not immediately go Steven, I think if they take Faraz out with the numbers being so little, it would be very easy to look at her. And I think it would have been tough but again, if they had Roxy, it doesn't matter all that much. I think that it really put us in low key. It made it much more entertaining with Roxy leaving, because think of it this way, Annabelle, we do get a 3-3 tie, the third vote being Jade with them. Then we get a revote and Jade flipped and Jack flipped. So she at one point convinced Jade she's safe, then at one point convinced Jack she's safe, then by the next cycle has completely removed Faraz as a vote for her. That's incredible to me. That's so fun. Let's not forget, we've talked about how luck is a huge part of the Traitors. She literally ends up in a 50-50 and has to open a case with a shield in it to stay in the game, and does. Brilliant. This is also the point where I would like to talk about US3 real quick, because this is the point we saw last season with Danielle and Brittany, and I think Dolores was voting with them, and Brittany switches her vote. And that we said they have to deadlock it at that point. The game's over, whether or not, like, if you don't win this deadlock. So the deadlock helped here, but I think it was much more, for me, it enriched Rachel's game more to see her take the harder path, even though I do think that they could have gotten away with, they've proven they've gotten away with getting someone who's been saying their name before. I think they could have potentially gotten away with it, because I think Rachel had some very good arguments otherwise that we saw peppered in throughout the roundtables. One of the big ones for me was her saying, listen, if I'm a traitor, why am I at the end game with no allies? Why would I put myself in this position? That makes no sense. Why would I ever do that? I think that would be an easy sell. I think that calm demeanor could then translate to, why would I, Faraz just said my name. He's the most vocal person who said my name. Why would I get rid of that person and have all of you point at me? This is so clearly a sabotage.
I'm the new Matt. Every time we've called someone's bluff, they weren't bluffing, it was a setup. Are you really going to do that to me again?
Yeah.
I just think that she could have swayed it. If anyone could do it, it would have been her. It would have been a smoother sail to the end for her, in my mind. I'm with you. It was the better TV moment to keep Faraz, keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
That 50-50 though. Oh my.
And they cliffhangered it. Thank God I watched them back to back.
Yes.
Thank God I waited. Because I don't think I would have done well Thursday going into Friday not knowing what that 50-50 result was going to be.
That was me. That was me. I was like, is this going to be a solo Steven win?
Also, I absolutely love that Traitors UK does not do previews. And like next week or tomorrow night, I don't like that. So I'm happy they don't do that. And that's honestly is more of a me problem, because I talk about the show and I'm very online, is I'll see people breaking down the previews even if I don't watch them. So that's more of a me problem.
Unless it's showing that Colton's going to wear the world's worst outfit.
Oh my God. I'm not a fashion forward person, but I was like, what are we doing here? It looked cheap.
It was honestly a crime against homosexuality, and I'm upset about it.
Well, I will be checking out the podcast to see what your thoughts are on all the looks next week.
We get to that point. We've already broken down the last episode. Did we want to talk? People were upset we didn't talk about the Jack in the Box mission last week. So do we want to talk about the missions this week?
Sure. I mean, the missions this week, I don't quite care for the final mission. I feel like the only franchise that I've enjoyed the final mission on, for the most part, is New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's like they know what they're doing there. But the other missions that we had the
Carousel. We had musical chairs, basically.
we had musical chairs. Yeah.
It was fine.
Were those the two missions, or there's a third one I'm missing?
There was a third one, and I don't even remember it. That's how thrilling it was.
And you've watched them.
And I watched them twice. Yeah. It wasn't the graveyard
That
one.
was the one where if they successfully did it, they blocked the final murder.
The James throwing up one, which is never...
Yeah,
okay, yeah, let's call out that. So James threw up while running up a hill.
Yeah.
That... I
Collect
call
the gold.
bullshit on that. There is no more murders at that stage in the game. They were going to extend the time for as long as it needed to be to make sure the faithful won it. There are no more murders. That was false stakes. I hated that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I did the math. I was like, you're not going to let them murder at 5 to go to 4 with 2 traitors.
No.
That is ridiculous.
No, you're not.
Yeah. Which that would have been poor TV also. So that to me just felt like let's push him to get more money. But also, if I'm a contestant, I'm like, okay, well, surely there's not going to be a murder. Like, there's plot armor here. There's no way you're going to let us get to 4 directly. That messes up the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So I didn't. Yeah, that was a come on. What are we doing here?
But overall, the game, it was a win for the girls and the gays. I really feel that Rachel and Stephen were incredible traitors.
Yes.
Potentially top traitors for me. We'll need to maybe do a big review in the off-season, Pooya.
Yeah.
But to me, they're brilliant as a duo. They cannot be considered separately. I don't think one is substantially better than the other because I think both of them absolutely slayed at the piece that they slayed at.
They fit like 2 puzzle pieces to me. I do think that for me, this might be the most cohesive, maybe outside of Celebrity UK, the most cohesive turret we have had as far as 2 people can go. I know, like, obviously we had Hugo immediately leave, and Fiona kind of like come in and be a hurricane in all of it. But these 2 were from the beginning in lockstep, and I think that lends a huge credit to why they were able to win the game. And, you know, you and I talked about wanting a brand new win result, which we've never had 2 traitors in the English-speaking franchises win together. And I thought that was very special. I like that. I think that the last couple of seasons have now proven if you want the turret to work out, if you want the traitors to succeed, them working together is a lot easier than them immediately turning on each other and getting to, you know, one person basically battling everybody else. The other thing I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on this? No seductions, no recruitments on a season. Do you prefer it, or would you rather there be a little bit more of a carousel, like not carousel, sliding door situation?
I think
revolving door.
Say this to you last week where I said where I felt it was getting a bit snooze.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about what are my favorite seasons of all time, they are seasons where there is a high rotation in the tower. I like it when you get that constant thrill of, oh my goodness, they caught one. Oh, now we have to watch a new person struggle. And it seems like anything could happen at any time.
Yeah.
I feel like Stephen and Rachel had this 2 on lock. I put this above UK season 3, but still below 1 and 2.
Oh, on your rankings?
Yeah.
I desperately need to start my rewatch journey.
Yeah.
Because I'm starting to get a little too far removed from some of the older
Yeah.
seasons. But as of right now, instinctually, I would agree. I think 1 is still 1 for me, probably. Or 2 is 1. Those 2 are interchangeable a little bit. I think 4 is slotting right in. I think 4 cracks my top 5 overall already. But I do agree with you. I think in UK order, 3 is 4th still.
Yes.
That's easy. And then I think 4 is probably 3, but it's such a close race with the 3 for me.
Yeah.
There's a gap between 3 and 4. And by that, I mean 3rd place, 4th place, not 3rd season, 4th season. So, yeah, I think that I don't hate when there is no recruitment and stuff. I think that it can be fun because it does keep the traitors on their toes a little bit more. And for the faithful, I feel like it feeds into what they've already had. My problem with the like one point against having the revolving door is that I feel like usually it'll be one of two recruitments. Either we're immediately going to kick you out, or the other thing that could happen, which doesn't happen often, mind you, is we're going to give someone the golden ticket to win and they've done nothing in the turret. And that is my worst nightmare scenario, is someone winning as traitor that I'm like, you put in no effort or no work. We've not seen that outcome yet.
No,
but
I feel we have. Not in the UK, but I feel quite strongly that in one of my favorite seasons, even though everyone's like, Slay Queen, I'm like, you literally did nothing, coasted your way to the end, got recruited at the last moment.
I want to know which one we're talking about here. Okay, hold on. All right, well, y'all didn't hear that.
But Pooya's outraged and disagrees with me passionately.
Maybe. But yeah, I think that's the nightmare scenario for me. So, which is why I think I'm more team. I'm fine with there not being recruitments, because also sometimes I feel like they'll give it to somebody who I just don't see being effective. And my worry is always, if they're not really anything, then they're just going to automatically get a dub here. And I don't like that. For example, in season 2, they offered Pilot Pete of US, sorry.
Yes.
They offered Pilot Pete the traitorship, which still doesn't make sense to me. And then even more didn't make sense to me was Pilot Pete being like, no. Like, okay, you just gave up. Literally could have won the game. Literally could have won the game in that spot.
Peter Party Pals revolutionized, even though obviously Peter sucked, Peter's Party Pals reimagined the faithful game for me. I still talk about it years later.
Yeah.
And
his impact.
His impact. And I think for me this season, that person is going to be Harriet. I think when we are 3 years down the line, we've talked about another 60 Traitors seasons, I will still remember, like, Jessie, love her, cute, adorable. She will just be another one of those traitor hunters who never quite made it. But Harriet will always be the one who put the fear of God into Rachel before an unnecessary kamikaze.
You said her name and it made me on instinct want to light up a cigarette because it stressed me out. Harriet did something that I think a lot of faithfuls dream about. It's something that I feel like Rob vocalized wanting to do, right? Which is bring the game to the Traitors' front door. And she definitely did that. It just saddens me how he leaves the game. And because I genuinely think she was about to be one of the greatest to have ever like tried it. So, and she, you know, if you stop watching after like episode 7, she really was.
Yeah, and you know
legend.
What? Just because of how she completely blew it after that doesn't take away the moment, the glorious moment she did it. And I will remember that.
And that's the first time we've seen that twist.
Yes.
And honestly, her and Matthew delivered.
Yes.
They made that segment, they made that twist worthy. And I think they made that twist something that we're going to see again.
Yeah.
I think with the Seer, we saw how quickly that kind of fizzled out on both franchises. I don't think we're seeing that anymore. Hoping.
Yeah.
With this one, I think we're going to see again. And I'm very intrigued because I do think it's very fun. I think it'll be very fun to go in and do exactly what she did, which is call out, hey, I know you're back there, because either you're wrong and it's funny or you're right and it's amazing. So you can't go wrong. It's content either way, positively. So I will take that.
What about overall crush picks? I love a crush pick. You know this, Pooya?
I mean, I'm not going to not say Rachel. Like, Rachel, it's Rachel. It's Rachel. She literally did everything, rode the entire season, worked very hard, and looked good doing it. Like, the confidence that woman gives out in any tense situation, that's what you strive to want. Like, that's what you want to be. Just confident, and even under all the stress, still keep a level head and still look calm. Whereas, bless him, Steven, there were moments where I'm like, you do not look confident at all. You are bricking it. But I never saw that with Rachel, really. Even when she was like in confession, I'm like, I was really scared. I'm like, really? Because I couldn't tell. You were very level headed to me. So she's my crush pick. Easy. I'm trying to look at the men.
You know I froth a type B gay man. I love Steven.
Yeah.
Steven's my crush pick. The
Okay.
outfits were just incredible. He's so
I think
hot.
he introduced a whole new outfit scheme to the Traitors with the
The
jumpsuits.
jacket in episode 1 broke the internet, and we hadn't even seen the jumpsuit yet.
Yeah.
Dylan from Traitors Canada messaged me and was like, honestly, if the Traitors win this season, hottest winners of the Traitors franchise. And I said, yeah, eat that, Dylan Efron. Like, this was hot for me.
Any other picks?
Ooh, Jessie, gorgeous.
Yep.
Loved the makeup. Jade, always serving face, serving looks. People were scandalized by how, I don't know if you noticed, but she had the same cardigan that Tom Daly was wearing. It's from a British knitwear brand. I need one. And everyone's like, oh my God, but it's so expensive. And she's only a uni student. I'm like, yeah, but parent money, have some respect. And I loved Jade there representing the parent money girlies and looking hot doing it.
I saw, because obviously Rob and Alan Carr wore the same like orange overcoat over thing. And I went to price check that thing. I was like, damn, it's like 300 pounds. I was like, all right. I was like, I'll just look from afar. It's cool. It's fine. Yeah. Well, you know what else I wanted to talk about real quick is that I had never clocked this. We always talk about how the Traitors is you have to come in with the right fashion. I think that has been overly expected because of Traitors US. I sometimes forget Traitors UK folk, they're just regular. They're dressing regular. I think this is more so what they wear day to day than it is, I'm going to dress up for this castle. Whereas I feel like a lot of the castle wear in the US is, I literally made a budget and got a whole wardrobe for this show.
Yeah.
It's different.
Well, they're sponsored, and they get sponsored by brands. They get appearance fees. We don't get any of that on the amateur version.
No.
You have to come in with your own clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to look very Annabelle, but these were all outfits that I wear in my day-to-day life.
Right.
I just happen to be quite eccentric.
And I think I'm envious of that because I'm like, if I ever was to do that, I still would need to get, maybe like not a full blown, like we're talking like high fashion wardrobe, but I would like to, step out the hoodies for that one, get a little couple different things on there. Now, the other thing I want to ask is, I feel like more and more with every passing season, we hear people chant and say, we need an All-Stars. So my question is relatively simple. Who would you like to see back to play again? And by the way, maybe one day we can sit down and talk about this.
Yeah.
What does an All-Star season look like for the Traitors? Because it's so different than like a Survivor or a Big Brother or any of these other shows, because people had other, like, for example, if you bring in like 3 Traitors from 3 different seasons, is it weird to make any of them a traitor again? Do you make them all? Like, do you know, what do we do? But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. I think it depends. Do you go big characters? Do you do a mix of like the top traitors, top traitor hunters, top...
You need a healthy
whatever
mix.
Faithful, yeah. Who do I want to see again? I don't know that we will see Harriet again. I don't think she would want to do it again. I don't think Fiona is getting as much love as I would have loved to have seen.
That's what. Have you heard her story about the burner phone?
That is hilarious.
That was so good. It was so good.
I want Fiona back. I think she was really fun. I'd like Ross to get another go.
Same. Ross with no one who knows him.
Yeah.
No one knows him. Bring him back with like other people, but no one from his life, because I don't think that helped him any.
I want to see Jessie back.
Jesse's a great pick, I think. Rachel or Steven, obviously chalk picks, easy. We don't even need to speak on that anymore. Outside of them,
James could be fun, but I don't need it.
I think there's other people that can take the James spot. I think for me, Alexander from last season takes the James spot.
Yeah.
If not, and it's a big upgrade, no offense, James, to that spot.
I really don't think there's many others I can think of. Like, Ross, give him another chance. Jessie, she was really charismatic and fantastic. What actually, Tranna and Philly were talking about this over on Babes. What I really want, screw All Stars.
Okay.
We want an all iconic older women. We want nobody else other than, like, we want Fiona, we want Amanda.
The Golden Traitors?
Yeah, Golden. We want all Golden Traitors.
Oh, that'd be so good.
And it's just the women over 50.
Oh, that'd be phenomenal. I would watch that tonight, even.
Literally.
That would be so good.
Nobody else.
And they've delivered, too. That's the
They're
thing.
always the best
Yeah.
characters.
Oh, my God. That would be phenomenal. Yeah, because I think, and I don't want to misquote this, I feel like I've seen somewhere in the last year that a Traitors All-Stars was either mentioned or greenlit or something somewhere. And I want to say it was UK also, but who knows? I do think eventually it'll happen. But I'm curious what that looks like, because I think if you put like you have to get a good mix of a cast. You can't do like all brains. That's not going to hit.
No.
And you can do all personality.
Yeah.
More than you can all brains, because I also think that what I'd be intrigued by is people who are playing a second time that really didn't get the game the first time,
Yeah.
or were misunderstood the first time. How do they play a second time? That's intriguing to me. So like,
Yeah.
for example, someone like Jade, who was basically just hella accused from the beginning, but also I didn't see do herself any favors or figure it out. Does she leave this figuring it out, coming back 2 years later, a different player? So
Yeah. And now has a bone to pick with anyone she's close to.
yeah. And if they do an All-Stars, I really hope we're doing it a lot more infrequently. It cannot be annually.
No.
I feel like annually just makes it cheap. It just isn't as exciting anymore.
I'd also I think I'd prefer, I don't know, would you prefer just a UK All-Stars? Would you want to see a mix of the
like a
UK and the
global?
US?
I mean, that would be fun. My only worry with a UK, US, or like a global thing is that we do get a little bit of there's 7 Americans, so we gotta like get rid of 2 Americans, or like, oh, there's 5 UK people, definitely one of them is like the metagaming would bother the hell out of me. But I do think that if they were to do it, as long as they do the casting justice, it would be phenomenal. I think, give me personalities, give me the brains, give me the good comment. Like, if you're bringing the best candidates forth from each franchise,
Traitors Olympics. Traitors Olympics, I think it would be fun.
I think so too. And I would have to find a new co-host for that, because I can't imagine you would not be in the list.
I don't. No one has reached out to me, put it that way.
Well, I don't think it's happened yet, but when it does, yeah. So I think that would be fun. And maybe this is also another off-season project we can do. I was thinking about this last night, actually. Like I said earlier, I'm due for a rewatch. Since like 2019, I've not rewatched a single show that I cover or enjoy, period. And I think I'm due to do that for the Traitors, because I do think we're getting to a place now where there's plenty of seasons. I think we can do rankings of seasons. We can do rankings of best Traitors, best faithful, worst lists even. And I think casting a all-star season globally and like domestically for each franchise, these are all very fun off-season ideas for us to work through.
Consider me in.
Perfect. So I'm going to start doing my rewatch, and then we can talk about it. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's it. I really enjoyed this ride. I can't believe
it's over.
It's already over. We've only got the US to tide us through. And then what's going to be our next one? Is it going to be Australia?
Is it Australia, New Zealand, or Ireland? I'm not sure. I think it's one of Australia or New Zealand, because now we know officially, because I had heard some whispers in the wind that maybe Australia comes sooner than I imagined, but it looks like we're getting Australian Survivor first.
Yes, we are.
So I don't think we get Traitors till probably May.
Yeah, at the earliest.
Yeah. So I think New Zealand might be next up. New Zealand, I mean, we've not heard anything, but if I remember correctly, New Zealand felt like a April release before.
It started about a week before the Australian version started.
You know,
so
they were side by side, weren't they? Yeah, they're not staggered to my liking, but I know that they're not done for my liking. So that's fine. Yeah. So I think that that's probably the next avenue. And I mean, you will be my co-host for Australia. So I mean, there's gonna be hella names I'm not familiar with, so I definitely need
Yes, I've already been brushing up on them.
Yeah. So can't wait for that. But yeah, other than that, we are literally left with like less than a month of Traitors here, because US is going to be done, and then it's going to be Traitor free. And it's not been traitor free for a second because we went from Ireland to celebrity to then
Canada.
UK and US and Canada. Yeah, it's been nonstop for months now.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't on the India and Quebec bandwagons, but I am exhausted, but still ready to keep. I'm not going to let go.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to ride that wave, though, because I do want to watch a couple of these international ones that I've been putting off. Hungary is one of them. India's the other one. I would like to finish season 1 of Quebec, but at this point, I'm also like, I might have to start from the beginning because I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
So, there's some ways to go.
Yeah, I hear great things about the Norwegian version as well.
There we go. More places to dip into. Yeah. Well, hope you all had fun with us this season. If you could leave a rating and review, that is appreciated. And the U.S. coverage is still going to be going on, so make sure you're still subscribed to this feed. You can find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya for when I'm not podcasting, sorry. And check out The Lounge with Liana. Check out the 90-day. That's still going to be running. And Annabelle will still be talking Traitors, just not here until we get to AU. Annabelle, where can they find that?
They can find that at Babes in the Conclave, where I'm chatting with Chili Philly from Australian Survivor, all about Traitors US. And you can follow me on Instagram at AnnabelleCE.
Real quick, I noticed this last night. Remind me again, which franchises call it the Conclave and which franchises call it the Turret?
Can't remember, but Conclave just sounded better with Babes. You know, we really needed to rebrand for SEO purposes, and Babes in the Turret just didn't sound as iconic.
Don't hit. Yeah. Because I think Canada calls it the Conclave, but I'm like, did Australia call it that? Because I would have sworn that the UK does too, but they called it the Turret. So.
No, there's the Turret, Traitors Tower, and the Conclave.
Oh my God, Tower's Australia, I think.
Yeah, I think Traitors Tower is Australia.
Oh my God, we need to all decide one.
Yeah, no.
Actually, no, because then you're SEO stuffed again. Keep them all. It's fine. All right. Hope you all had fun. We'll catch y'all later. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.